A wild sight on the roads this week. Video captures a car with a metal staircase driving around Mississauga. We're talking to Peel Regional Police about what happened.
And a massive sinkhole in Toronto's East End shut down a busy intersection. Crews continue to work around the clock to fix this mess, but frustrated residents say this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
And an argument in a North York parking lot turns violent. A man charged with attempted murder after police say he struck two people with his vehicle. We'll tell you more.
This is Live at 5.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. A massive sinkhole has shut down a busy intersection in the city's East End.
CP24 was over the scene at Coxwell and Cosborn, where a significant portion of the intersection caved in and was filled with water. The city says the street collapsed after a water main broke late last night. It has received reports of at least 2 flooded basements in the area so far.
There's like mud in the bathtub, like mud on the bathroom floor. Carpet's just like soaked, like it's just been soaking all night. Luckily, it looked like they had cut off the water about 5 hours after it had been reported to 311 that there was water coming out of the ground, which was crazy. Like if it had been taken care of like an hour or 2 hours into someone being aware of it, this all would have been fine, right? It would have just been like, oh, there's, it would have been the water main replacement, but they were just slow, or I don't know what happens.
Now, CP24 spoke to one resident who says she noticed a leak in the area last night and reported that to the city, but claims it took crews hours to shut off the water.
Let's go live to...
This was preventable because from 10 o'clock when I called, the water was only shut off maybe around 3:30 in the morning, which means I was about 5 hours for all the water to be reverberating from underneath, and that had to go somewhere.
Let's go live to CP24 Steve Ryan. He is at the scene this hour. And Steve, what is the update on when this sinkhole could be repaired?
So we just received a statement from the City of Toronto saying that September the 1st, barring any surprises, they're hoping that this entire sinkhole will be repaired at that time. Until such time, traffic is going to be diverted. And you want to talk to me? You want to do a quick interview with me while you're walking through? Yeah. I'm just tracking down this guy that's just walking by. It's live TV. What's your name?
Niall.
Now, your thoughts on the sinkhole?
Oh, well, just hopefully nobody was injured. That's the main thing, I suppose. We only live down the road, walk by here regularly. So I heard in the news it was a water main. So listen, I just hope it gets fixed. Everyone's back. The main thing is everybody's safe and there's nobody injured. That's the main thing. The show must go on, I suppose,
that's a great attitude, and I love that nobody was injured. There is some inconvenience. The show must go on, as you said. But the thought, city's infrastructure is old. It needs to be repaired. But when you see something like this in the middle of the intersection, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, we all know the city is in different shape, and especially with the roads and the weather we have over here. I think we have to try and keep it updated, We all pay tax and we all hope it was up to date, but hopefully we can get this sorted and get it up to date and it doesn't be repeated, I suppose, but that's life, I suppose,
Well, the good news is, I was just saying to my anchors there that the September 1st, this is supposed to be repaired, so not too many days away.
That's good. Well, listen, as I said, things happen. Once everyone's safe, that's the main thing, so.
Love your attitude. So
okay.
Thank you for
Have
that.
a good day.
Tremendous inconvenience, but as this gentleman said, nobody's been injured. It is a bit of a minor inconvenience, that's for sure. And there is some water damage, by the way, to some of the neighboring residents. But as you can see, city workers are working as hard as I can to get this thing repaired. And as the city said in a statement that they just released, this will be completed by September the 1st.
Right.
Not too many days away. Easy to say, I guess you don't live in the area, but still, it's not too many days away. Back to you guys.
I guess, some reason to be optimistic for residents in the area who no doubt have been frustrated, Steve. As you've been reporting, 2 basement floods have also been reported to the city so far. So this is clearly a dynamic situation. And as you can see from that live shot, this around-the-clock work continues tonight. Steve Ryan reporting live from the East End. Thanks so much for this, Steve. Let's stay on the roads now and get a check on that drive home with our traffic specialist, Adjoa and Siayabwa.
Yeah, Lena, still watching a busy drive out there on the major routes and watching big delays if your travels do take you out on the 401 in particular. Westbound 401, slow down start from Victoria Park. And you know what? They do continue all the way out towards about Martin Grove. Been searching my cameras, haven't spotted any problems. That's the good news. Rain is subsiding. That's the even better news. Then on the eastbound side of things, it's really slow. Delays start actually from Dixie. They continue out to Leslie. More delays into Durham. Also a crawl on the northbound DVP now from north of Bayview Bloor up to the 401. And just take a peek at the Gardeners, you make your way in and out of the downtown core. Very slow going. A reminder, if you're headed towards Etobicoke, no access to northbound Kipling between Kidron and Steeles. That is following an ongoing serious crash. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
A man has been charged after allegedly sexually assaulting a minor at the CNE yesterday. Toronto police have identified the suspect as 51-year-old Kakwo Vo. He's been charged with sexual interference with a person under 16 years of age and sexual assault. Officers believe there may be more victims out there and are urging anyone with information to come forward.
Well, a man has been sent to hospital with serious injuries after an industrial accident. This happened in Etobicoke.
Police and paramedics responded to a business in the Valley Crescent in the Rogers and Weston Roads area around 2:30 for reports of a man struck by a piece of metal. Here we have a live look at the scene. A dump truck still taped off this hour. Police say a man in his 60s was unloading that dump truck at a recycling facility when he was injured. He was taken to the hospital by way of an emergency run. The Ministry of Labor has now been notified.
Well, a retired NFL player wanted by Durham police has been arrested in connection with a fraud investigation in Georgia.
Police in Roswell say the investigation has been underway since June after a victim reported being financially exploited by Daryl Skern. Skern was first drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 2011. He was arrested at Pearson Airport in 2023 for separate charges and was released on bail. In 2024, Durham police say he removed his GPS monitor, adding that he failed to attend a court appearance in May.
Well, we are learning more tonight about the man who broke into a residence in Lindsay, Ontario earlier this month.
A newly released court document shows Michael Kyle Breen allegedly broke into an apartment on August 18th carrying a crossbow when he was confronted by a tenant. The case has sparked debates about self-defense after the resident, Jeremy David McDonald, was charged with assault after allegedly defending his home against the intruder.
A Markham man has been charged with attempted murder after two people were hit by a car in a Tim Hortons parking lot in Flemington Park, and it all started as an argument.
Yeah, this happened around 10 o'clock last night in the area of Don Mills Road and Gateway Boulevard. That's near Eglinton. Police say two men got into an argument when one of the men got into their car and struck the other man. After reversing his car, he struck a second man. One victim suffered minor injuries. The other man suffered serious injuries but is expected to survive.
Well, I mean, an incident like this, you can only, I understand how much concern that would cause. What I can tell you, though, is that there was an altercation between these two people prior to that event. So it wasn't a random attack. There was some sort of interaction there. But for someone to then get out of their car or get into their car and then to run over this person, it is alarming.
So police were able to make an arrest in the suspect. A 33-year-old man has now been identified as Edris Gulami, and that investigation, of course, continues tonight.
In the meantime, police are trying to find a driver who allegedly left the scene of a crash in Scarborough early this morning.
Yeah, the collision happened around 2 a.m. at Kennedy and Shepherd. One of the vehicles knocked over a streetlight pole and flipped onto its roof. Police say a woman who was driving one of the vehicles involved ran away and is still outstanding. Luckily, no one was seriously injured.
Now, this was quite the scene to see on the roads. A car with stairs attached was caught on video in the streets of Mississauga.
How can you drive like this? How? This is not safe. What's the license plate?
Yeah, it's almost like unbelievable to see something like this on the roadways. And of course, this was captured on camera this week. Peel police say they stopped the vehicle driving along Queensway on Tuesday afternoon. Further investigation revealed that this vehicle had reversed into a building near Dixie and Queensway, which resulted in the stairs being released from the building and attaching to the car, it seems as if the driver just carried on. A 22-year-old woman from Woodbridge has now been charged with careless driving. Here's more from police.
We all have the same question. That was puzzling. They say policing is a front seat ticket to the greatest show on earth, and we're fortunate in this case no one was injured, so we can laugh a little bit about it. What we learned after this woman was stopped and investigated is that in a more industrial location over near Dixie and Queensway, she backed into that staircase. How? We're not really sure. What led to that? Not really sure. That staircase became attached to her car as an interesting accessory, and rather than stop and call for help, she thought it was okay to maybe make it home. We're not really sure.
The Supreme Court of Canada has declined to hear an appeal of a lower court ruling that upheld a First Nations ownership of a stretch of land along Sauble Beach on Lake Huron.
Yeah, this dismissal comes nearly 2 months after members of Saugeen First Nation changed the iconic Welcome to Sauble Beach sign that greeted beach visitors. An Ontario court granted ownership of a 2.2-kilometer stretch of the shoreline to the Saugeen First Nation. The town of South Bruce Peninsula had appealed that decision.
It's 5:11, 17 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, another delay is likely for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. That's according to the chair of the TTC. So the waiting game continues. We're going to have much more on this coming up. Welcome back. The NDP is calling on the province to implement an overdose strategy.
The party was joined alongside community advocates at Queen's Park today, speaking out on Ontario's overdose crisis and calling on the Ford government to put forward solutions. This comes ahead of International Overdose Awareness Day on Sunday.
The overdose crisis was declared a public health emergency 9 years ago, but the Ford government still doesn't have a strategy to confront the crisis that we're in. We've witnessed the drug supply become increasingly toxic and unpredictable. The consequences for our communities and the people of Ontario have been devastating. We have lost 7 Ontarians to opioid poisoning each day in 2024.
We are backtracking with chaotic and deadly results. Right now, people are dying. They are sustaining critical injuries needlessly. Without supervised consumption sites, people like me, workers in drop-ins, in libraries, in churches, on transit, and in parks, we are finding bodies in our workplaces. We are saving lives off the side of our desks. Communities are also finding people overdosing. And in fact, I've responded to 2 overdoses in my own neighborhood by my house since April.
Health Minister Sylvia Jones has responded to this morning's announcement, highlighting the province's plans to open heart hubs across the province aimed at providing mental health and addiction support.
Yeah, a statement from the minister reads in part, instead of giving people tools to use illegal drugs, our government is making record investments to help break the tragic cycle of drug addiction with more mental health and wraparound support. So that right there is the province's response. Well, TTC Chair Jamal Myers says another delay could be coming when it comes to the opening of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT.
I would say that September is not looking likely, but we have not gotten an official word yet from Metrolinx, but I would say that's probably a safe bet.
His comments come after there was talk about the line opening in September, while construction on the LRT line started in 2011 and was supposed to finish in 2022. It's been hit with numerous delays and is now at least $1 billion over budget. The LRT route is 19 kilometers long between Mount Dennis and Kennedy Road.
Well, the new TTC CEO, Mandeep Lally, stopped by Bathurst Station today, along with the TTC chair, Jamal Myers, who you just heard from, to talk to riders during this morning's rush hour. And this is because changes are coming.
So starting on September 2nd, the TTC is increasing service on 32 bus routes and making route adjustments to help students boarding at stops near schools.
As we morph into the fall, we're improving service, bringing it back to the levels we were in the spring. 2 notable adjustments we're really proud to announce. First is the Sinclair 512, where we're moving from a frequency of 8 minutes to 6 minutes. That will help the commute for over 20,000 of our commuters. Secondly, the 133 Nelson bus service. Again, improving that service middays, weekends, and through the AM peaks for the daily 10,000 commuters that use that.
So the streetcars are actually slow, I mean, considering the traffic, but I think more streetcars will help. And, Toronto traffic it's not great. It's not at its best, but it could be better. So hopefully with more services, and we just need lesser cars on the road and more streetcars.
I think it's great because sometimes when you come here in the morning, like sometimes it's full, right? There's times when there's just a little bit of people, but I think it's getting better for everybody because there's different people that goes different directions within the city, and especially the subway. Sometimes it's so tight that you can't even get in.
And it's almost back to school. We're getting there. So the TTC is issuing an important reminder, asking drivers to use caution as the streets and sidewalks get busier and slow down to allow buses to merge into traffic.
Well, it's 5:17, 17 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The authors of a preliminary report into abuse and maltreatment in Canadian sports say the system is broken. We'll take a closer look at the commission's finding next.
A new national report is calling for significant changes to help protect athletes across the country.
Yeah, the Future of Sport in Canada Commission releasing its preliminary report today, saying it heard that there are deeply ingrained issues across the country, ranging from a culture of silence that's led to abuse, to underfunding, and a lack of diversity. The report sets out 71 preliminary recommendations for change.
These deeply ingrained issues give rise to conflicts of interest, favoritism, a win-at-all-costs thinking, and a pervasive fear of losing funding across the system. Together, they fuel a long-standing culture of silence in sport, a culture that has persisted largely due to the historical normalization of harmful practices, entrenched cultural norms, power dynamics, and the lack of diversity of some sporting environments.
The group was created 2 years ago after athletes spoke out about systemic abuse.
It's an important conversation. Well, the U.S. is set to end its exemption on duties for lower price shipments tomorrow, which has small business owners in Canada bracing for higher costs.
All shipments bound for America worth $800 or less will be hit with duties starting Friday. That is forcing business owners here to decide whether to absorb or pass those costs on to consumers. Millions of duty-free packages enter the U.S. every day, but postal services in at least 25 countries are suspending U.S. shipping due to the change. Canada Post is not among them, saying it will use a third party to collect and send duties to U.S. Customs.
5:21, 17 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Coming up, we're learning more about what former Raptors president Masai Ujiri will be doing next. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It is the final weekend of the CNE, and that means it's time for the Canadian International Air Show.
The snowbirds are among the aircraft on the tarmac at Pearson Airport ahead of the air show, which runs Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. There will also be a number of aerial teams and solo performers.
Yeah, we're really excited to be back this weekend. We're getting all the bad weather out of the way today so that we're going to have blue skies all weekend. This year, it's a bit of a Canadiana theme. We've got aircraft and pilots from all across Canada representing both our historical aircraft and our future aircraft of the Royal Canadian Air Force.
The CF-18 demonstration team will also be taking part in the air show. Some members of the Royal Canadian Air Force remember attending the air show as spectators and the influence it's had on them.
Well, I was going to Seneca College in Toronto, and just before orientation week, we went down to the CNE, and the air show was going during that weekend, and I saw the helicopters and the snowbirds, the F-18 demo team was there as well, and it was just a big inspiration to join the forces.
I grew up in Toronto. I watched this air show, the Canadian International Air Show, growing up, and this served as a major motivation for me as well to do this job.
As for when to look up into the skies, the air show runs daily from noon to 3:40 p.m. on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Always a family favorite. Well, a busy day for Canadians at the U.S. Open.
Denis Shapovalov found himself in an entertaining and error-filled contest against France's Valentin Royer. It took more than 3.5 hours despite lasting just 4 sets. Shapovalov eventually triumphant, winning 7-6, 3-6, 7-6, and 6-3 to advance to the third round. Fellow Canadians Gabriel Diallo and Felix Auger-Aliassime are playing second-round matches today.
And staying with sports news, Masai Ujiri, he has a new role with the United Nations.
Ujiri is now the Sustainable Development Goals Advocate for the UN. The former Raptors executive was appointed by the Secretary General ahead of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. Ujiri is the co-founder of Giants for Africa and Zaria Group and will now join a group of influential leaders and change makers to help raise global ambition and action.
Well, you can only pull off hosting the FIFA World Cup 2026 with the help of thousands of volunteers, and students at Humber Polytechnic are helping out with that.
The City of Toronto has partnered with the school to support the launch of the Host City Volunteer Program. Students will be responsible for recruitment, selection, scheduling, training, and volunteer recognition from the pre-tournament warm-up through to the final whistle in July 2026.
All right, switching gears with the return of school right around the corner, keeping a sleeping schedule. That's important for getting back on the right foot for the busy months ahead.
Certified sleep consultant Sarah Murphy joined us today to discuss ways to get your kids primed for back to school.
When your child is not getting enough sleep, you're going to see the ripple effect there. You're going to see things like poor attention span. You're going to see mood swings, right? Those meltdowns that we want to really avoid.
Yeah.
And so getting good sleep for this time of year, per back to school, is so important. You obviously have your kindergartners who the demands are going up now. We're all of a sudden asking them to sit still, to focus, and
to listen properly.
Exactly, and to manage those emotions that they haven't been used to doing for such long periods. So getting good quality sleep is so important right now.
And experts recommend teenagers 14 to 17 years old get 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get that amount of sleep every single night, no matter age.
I need that much, and I'm no longer a teenager. So.
Yeah, we all need it. Well, it's 5:28, 17 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the intersection of Coxwell and Cosburn remains closed in East York. This after a water main break caused a massive sinkhole. Take a look at this. That work continues this hour. We're going to have an update on when the road is expected to reopen.
A wild sight on the roads this week. Video captures a car with a metal staircase driving around in Mississauga. We are talking to Peel Regional Police about what happened here.
And a massive sinkhole in Toronto's East End shuts down a busy intersection. These are live images from that scene. Crews continue to work around the clock to fix the mess, as frustrated residents say this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
And an argument in a North York parking lot turns violent. A man is now charged with attempted murder after police say he struck 2 people with his car.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Ladafat.
And I'm Sijal Liu. Welcome to Live at 5. A massive sinkhole has shut down a busy intersection in the city's East End.
Yeah, Chopper 24 was over that scene at Coxwell and Cosburn, where a significant portion of the intersection, you can see, has been caved in, and it is filled with water. Quite the mess here. The city says the street collapsed after a water main broke late last night. It's received reports of at least 2 flooded basements in the area so far.
I noticed when we were here for the Canada Day parade, the East York Canada Day parade on July 1st, there was leaking water. So when we saw the sinkhole this morning, it wasn't really much of a surprise because it's been going on for a while.
Well, it just looks like the pipe finally gave way after 100 years. So it's the infrastructure in Toronto's old. They can't afford to replace it all at once. So this will be a piece that gets replaced now.
CP24 spoke to one person in the area who says this isn't the first time a water main has burst in that area.
2 months ago, we had the same thing pretty much, a pipe burst right across the street, right there at the church. And when I asked the workers that were fixing it, I said, what's the likelihood of this happening again? I honestly thought he said, no, we're going to fix it, no problem. He said, it's very high because these pipes are 100 years old. They're cast iron made, and the likelihood is very high. Lo and behold, 2 months after, we're right here.
All right, let's go live to the scene now. It's where we find CP24's Steve Ryan tonight. Steve, that is a massive sinkhole. When is it going to be repaired?
September the 1st, the city tells us in a statement they released just a short time ago, they'll, barring any surprises, of course, September the 1st, this big hole here will be repaired. So I'm joined now by Alistair, who's been a resident here for 40 years, and Moshi, who's the cutest one of them all, actually. Alistair, thank you for your time and for your patience. You've been here 40 years. You came by to have a look at the big hole in the intersection here. What are your thoughts?
Just amazing, right? Like, I've never seen anything like this. I just see it on TV. Never think I'm ever going to see one in my neighborhood, for sure, right? Like, and it was, wow. And it's.
Yeah, we've heard the infrastructure's old, of course, 100-year-old infrastructure. You say you're not surprised by this happening when we have such old infrastructure in place.
Yeah. Yes, like, there's things break down, and, you know, the city's working hard to keep up, but it's tough because it's expanding so quickly. So fast, right? You know.
Now, have you been affected by this other than the inconvenience of having to walk around this big hole? But your water's good,
no,
all's good?
Water's good and everything. I mean, the only inconvenience is the bus. I have to walk an extra block for the bus, right? That's it. You know. But that's it, right? I got the water's okay. We didn't have any flooding, right? Checked all that. So it's all good.
You talk about, you saw this on TV, so you came down to have a look. You haven't seen anything like this before, this big sinkhole in the middle of your street, in the middle of the city. What goes through your head, your thoughts?
Oh, it's a bit scary sometimes because you think, where's it going to happen next, right? So that becomes a bit scary, but you realize that these are sort of one-off things, I think. I hope anyways.
Well, I thank you for your time, and thank you as well, Puppy. You're very sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Alistair. So, guys, people have been stopping by here that live within the general vicinity here, saying that their water is still shut off. The water main break, as you can see, the city workers are hard at work trying to repair that. We don't know. We have reached out to the city. We don't know yet, or we've not been told anyway, when the water will be turned back on. So for those living in this area here near Coxwell and Cosburn whose water is still off, I had a lady ask me, do you think I should pack up my kids and leave for the next few days? Well, we don't know the answers to that, but I can tell you that we at CP24 have reached out to the city, and if they do get back to us, we certainly will provide that information to the residents. So all the water has not been turned on. This intersection will be repaired by September the 1st, and the work will continue most likely around the clock, as you can see. So back to you guys.
And it seems like all those residents you're speaking to still trying to be positive in this situation. Thanks so much, Steve.
Yeah, they're really trying to make the best of it. Steve Ryan reporting live. Thanks, Steve.
And sticking with the roads, let's check in on the commutes with CP24 traffic specialist Adra Encia Yabot.
Hi, CJ. Yeah, you know, it has been quite the slow go out there on the major routes. And, you know, I just watched a problem come and go. So a little bit of good news if you're on the northbound lanes of the Don Valley Parkway. This was through Lawrence. We were dealing with a collision. It was in the right lane. Just watch the last vehicle clear the scene. But the delays are still there, though, as you make your way from about Bayview Bloor. Using the Gardner, trying to get out of the downtown core. Pretty heavy as you make your way from Parliament. Continue slow to Grand. Eastbound really slow into the downtown core. But at least no live lane issues. And checking in on that drive on the Gardner, it's a pretty busy go as you head both east and westbound. This is a view through Martin Grove. I can't pull up any other of the cameras because they're not working. Outside of camera view, we are still dealing with this collision in Etobicoke, still reported on Kipling near Steele, so an area you want to avoid. I'll send it back to you.
Adwa, thanks so much. Well, a Markham man has been charged with attempted murder after two people were hit by a car in a Tim Hortons parking lot in Flemington Park.
Let's go live to CTV's Sean Leathon for the details of what we know so far. Sean, so this happened in a parking lot. What more can you tell us?
Behind the wheel, tried to mount the curb and actually hit someone in an attempt to kill that person. What we're learning today is that the person who has been charged with attempt murder before, along with other assaults. But I'll take you back to last night. As I said, it's 10:20 in this parking lot in the area of Don Mills Road and Gateway Boulevard. Police say there was a gathering of many people, and there was an altercation between two people. What they allege is that one of those people got into their vehicle in an attempt to run over the other. When that person backed their car out, after doing so, they managed to hit another person. They said that 2 people were injured, a man in his 20s, a man in his 50s. They said there were serious injuries to one of the people, but they will be okay. The other person had not serious injuries. Now, we learned about the person who was arrested. His name is Idris Gurlami. He's 33 years old, from Markham. He's facing a charge of attempted murder, charges of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, causing bodily harm, and he's also charged with uttering threats. Now, court documents showed that Gurlami had also been charged with 4 counts of attempted murder dating back to 2017. He was accused of discharging a firearm inside an apartment building and narrowly missing 2 young girls. He was also charged at that time with careless use of a firearm and having a firearm with when it was prohibited. Through those court documents, we learned that he was found not criminally responsible in July of that same year. Also, dating back to 2014, 2015, 2 other assault charges at that time, and then coming back up to the fall of 2024, he had been charged with assault, and that was still working its way through the justice system. Earlier today, I spoke to Toronto Police about this particular incident that happened last night. Here's what they had to say.
I don't know the numbers as to how many people were there or in the area, but from what I understand and from what officers have told me is that there was a lot of witnesses and there were a lot of people around. And having said that, we are asking anyone that may have been there or has any type of footage and haven't spoken to officers yet, if they can please come forward and call the police and give us that information.
Now, Gurlami has a number of charges facing him right now and from the past. When asked if he was out on bail at the time, police said they couldn't say exactly what his situation was with previous crimes, but they did say he does remain in custody. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Lena and CJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Sean, thanks so much for your reporting. We appreciate the update. Let's take you to Mississauga now, where a car with stairs attached to it was caught on video.
How can you drive like this? How? This is not safe. What's the license plate? CHRP.
Yeah, quite the scene. Peel police say they stopped the car along Queensway on Tuesday afternoon. Further investigation revealed the vehicle had reversed into a building near Dixie and Queensway, which resulted in the stairs being released from the building and attaching to the car. A 22-year-old woman from Woodbridge has been charged with careless driving.
The acquisition of the staircase took place over at Dixie and Queensway, and she was stopped near Queensway and Cawthra, about a kilometer and a half to 2 kilometers. So there was no indication that she was going very fast. I don't know how she would be able to. At least there's that. But a fair bit of distance. Officers actually saw the vehicle because of Queensway with the median the way it is. It took them a little bit of time to get turned around and caught up. And in the meantime, our communication center got lots of entertaining reports of a car driving with a staircase.
It's now 5:40, 17 degrees. You're watching Live at 5 on Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Another delay is likely for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. According to the chair of the TTC, the transit line has been under construction since 2011. We'll have the latest on the possible opening date next. Welcome back. A man has been sent to the hospital with serious injuries after an industrial accident in Etobicoke.
Yeah, police and paramedics responded to a business on Valley Crescent in the Rogers and Weston Roads area around 2:30 for reports of a man struck by a piece of steel. We're now giving you live images from the scene. Police say a man in his 70s was unloading a dump truck here at this recycling facility when he was injured. You can see the area's top taped off as well. I believe that's Toronto Police on scene. Yep, that's a Toronto Police vehicle. That man was transported to hospital by way of an emergency run, and the Ministry of Labour has been notified and will be conducting its own investigation.
Now to the latest on the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. TTC Chair Jamal Meyer says there could be another delay when it comes to getting the opening of the Eglinton Crosstown.
I would say that September is not looking likely, but we have not gotten an official word yet from Metrolinx, but I would say that's probably a safe bet.
The delays seem to be never ending, and this comes after there was talk about the line finally opening in September. Big question mark around that now. Construction on the LRT line started way back in 2011. It was supposed to be done with in 2020. Of course, that did not happen. This project has been hit with a number of delays, and it's now at least $1 billion over budget. The LRT route is 19 kilometers long between Mount Dennis and Kennedy Road.
The NDP is calling on the province to implement an overdose strategy.
The party was joined alongside community advocates at Queen's Park today, speaking out on Ontario's overdose crisis and calling on the Ford government to put forward solutions. This comes ahead of International Overdose Awareness Day on Sunday.
Overdose deaths are preventable, but we need to act. In doing so, our communities will be safer for all of us. I am asking Premier Ford and Minister Jones to answer the call of Ontario families, healthcare workers, harm reduction workers, and so many others. Value the lives of people who use drugs. Value the families who are losing loved ones. And value their lives enough to act now.
People who use drugs are deserving of the right to life, the right not to die because of an unsafe, toxic drug supply. Communities should not be finding their neighbors and their loved ones dead or overdosing on the streets. And all of what is happening now is entirely preventable, but only if the Ford government takes responsibility for the chaos that they have caused.
Health Minister Sylvia Jones responded to this morning's announcement, highlighting the province's plan to open heart hubs across Ontario. It's aimed at providing mental health and addiction support.
Yeah, here's a statement from the Ministry of Health. It reads in part, instead of giving people tools to use illegal drugs, our government is making record investments to help break the tragic cycle of drug addiction with more mental health and wraparound supports.
Well, a new national report is calling for significant changes to help protect athletes across the country.
The Future of Sport in Canada Commission releasing its preliminary report saying it heard that there are deeply ingrained issues across the country, ranging from a culture of silence that's led to abuse to underfunding and a lack of diversity. The report sets out 71 early recommendations for change, with more on the way.
As we have repeatedly heard throughout our work, maltreatment in sport, including physical punishment, sexual assault, training while injured, humiliation, intimidation, isolation tactics, failures to provide medical care, discrimination, and exploitation continue to permeate at all levels. It is also prevalent at the grassroots and local levels, where most children and young people participate. Furthermore, victims and survivors are often lost in the web of various complaints mechanisms, resulting in many feeling helpless and abandoned.
The group was created 2 years after athletes spoke out about systemic abuse, so it's been a while in the making.
Yeah, and that discussion will continue, of course. They're also asking the public for their feedback before they present a final report to the federal government. You're watching Live at 5 on Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Straight ahead, we're learning more about the person police say is responsible for a mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minnesota. Welcome back. Turning stateside now, investigators in Minneapolis say the shooter responsible for killing 2 students and wounding 18 other people had attended the Catholic school where the mass shooting happened.
The shooter has now been identified as Robin Westman. Police say Westman idolized mass killers and wanted to terrorize innocent children. Officials also say videos and writings the shooter left behind show Westman expressed hatred towards almost every group imaginable.
We want to learn why the person did this and how we might be able to prevent it in the future. But we also want to learn what are the signs that are out there that this person was degrading emotionally and mentally and was able to choose to do this. And how can we intercede before something like this happens? And there's plenty of materials and evidence they're putting together that are that's going to tell us that and give some answers to the victims' families.
And today, a memorial to the victims is growing at the scene of the mass shooting in Minneapolis.
Well, Canada has a new High Commissioner to India.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand revealing today that longtime diplomat Christopher Cooter will take up the post. The move comes some 10 months after both countries expelled their top envoys.
Well, Quebec is planning to ban prayer in public spaces.
The province's secularism minister says he will table legislation this fall to outlaw public prayer. It's part of a move to strengthen secularism in the province. Today's announcement comes after an independent committee recently made 50 recommendations to the government on how to strengthen secularism, although it stopped short of recommending an outright ban on public prayer.
It's now 5:52, 17 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we will get a preview of the Canadian International Air Show set to take the air this weekend. Well, we are approaching the final weekend of the CNE, and that means it's time for the Canadian International Air Show.
That time of year already, and for a preview of what's going on this weekend, we're joined live by Lori Duthie, Executive Director of the Canadian International Air Show. Great to have you on, Lori. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
This is an end of summer tradition so many in our city love. How does it feel to be back?
Oh, it's amazing. This is our 76th year. And like you say, this is a tradition for so many families. And we love hearing about how they used to come with their grandparents and now they're coming with their own grandchildren.
Now, this is the longest running air show in the country. Tell us about some of the new acts taking part this year and some of the historic acts returning.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a Canadiana theme. We're really focusing on Canadian pride this year. So all of our performers are from Canada, with the exception of the F-35, which is the future fighter aircraft of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And the Air Force will be taking possession of their first F-35 later in 2026. So we're really excited to really showcase all of that Canadian has for aviation. We've got some of the best aviators across Canada joining us, many former snowbirds that are now flying civilian aircraft, such as Marco Rusconi, who's flying the P-51 Mustang with us. We've got, of course, our beloved snowbirds. They're going to be closing the show each day. We've got the CF-18. We've got a Griffin. They're going to put one of their SAR-techs in Lake Ontario and then show us how they recover when they're doing search and rescue.
So fascinating each and every year, and you guys have been doing this for so long. I know that it was a rainy media day preview. We should say clear skies this weekend, though, but tell us more about how things went today.
Yeah, today was a little bit of a damp day for us, for sure. We had some delays with our arrivals. So media day, we had the F-18, the CF-18, we had the Griffin, and we had the Snowbirds up at Pearson. We're expecting some more aircraft to come later on today. But like you say, let's take the rain today so that we've got blue skies Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yeah, pretty good trade-off. Can you talk to us about the preparation that goes into this? When you watch these guys in the side, the choreography, it's quite amazing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, these pilots are fantastic. They train year-round. The Snowbirds in particular, they start training at the end of this air show season. They hire in their new pilots that are coming into the team, and they start training right away in November to get ready for the next season. So they're all just incredible. Like I say, we've got some of the best here in our show this year, and we're really excited to watch their performances this weekend.
We're excited too. Look, Lori, there's over 1 million people who are going to be taking in the sights and sounds this weekend. What is your advice to people who are looking for the best vantage point?
Well, the best vantage point is certainly within the exclusive air show zone. That's the ticketed area where you have the opportunity to meet and greet with the pilots and crew. We've got some incredible aviation displays, such as a CF-18 cockpit that you can actually sit in. There's an Air Cadet glider on site. And we've got an incredible new display from the Royal Canadian Air Force where you can put on virtual reality goggles and see what it's like to land at Pearson from a snowbird's vantage point. So we've got tickets for that. They range from general admission to some of the more exclusive experiences that we offer. We also have, for the first time this year, we've got a yacht that we're going to be positioning in the middle of Lake Ontario outside of the flying box, sort of the stage that we have. And they're going to be watching the show from the other side of the stage. So they're going to get the cityscape in the background. So that's a new Skydeck cruise that we still have a few tickets left for Saturday and a few more for Sunday and Monday. Of course, the air show in Toronto, what's so great about it is that it's accessible to everybody. So we know that there are 1 million people that watch the show for free across the 14 kilometers of great vantage point from the Humber Bridge all the way to Billy Bishop Airport. And for those folks, they can listen to the live stream narration through our website for free.
All right. Lori Duthie, Executive Director of the Canadian International Air Show. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you very much.
Well, right now it's 5:59, 17 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.